Charging 50 grand for the day actually makes me look like a legend because they just do the steps that I tell them to do and they get an outcome. And they're like, man, we've moved faster in the last 30 days than we had in the last 3 years. It's because you were actually moving.
You had skin in the game, right?
Right.
You're listening to Business Lunch with Roland Frasier. This is your seat at the table. Thank you for listening in. This is the producer of the show, Darren Clark, and Patch Baker is with Roland today. Patch is a renowned investor, serial entrepreneur with multiple ventures and exits. As an expert marketer, he impacts Fortune 500 clients with veteran-owned startups, showing them how to lead with tenacity, discipline, and grit. And you'll hear that in today's conversation and so much more. But before we begin, would you please take a moment to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, and go to businesslunchpodcast.com for show notes and to sign up for our emails. All right, so let's get stuck in.
Hey everybody, Roland Frasier here. Welcome to Business Lunch. I'm very pleased to have my friend and guest today, Patch Baker, coming to you live from a virtual setting in Florida. How you doing today, Patch?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Just enjoying the good things that San Diego has to offer. So I'm kind of excited to have you here. We've been doing a couple of things together. Just did the first ever paid online event with Facebook and a partnership with them. That's kind of cool. And also playing around with deals and all kinds of other stuff. So would you just kind of give everybody an idea of who you are and what you're doing right now? And then we'll dive into your entrepreneurial journey.
Basically, where to start is I did the military. I was in the Marine Corps for 14 and a half years. So I did that thing. And then I got out and I fell on my face and could not figure out the civilian world. So I went back working for the State Department and Secret Service and overseas as a contractor, and did that because I liked being in the team room. And I knew that world really well. And then in January 2015, I got shot in the chest standing outside the Baghdad embassy. And I got shot twice, blown up 6 times. If you're doing math, that's 8 out of 9 lives. Like, time to find something new. And
makes sense.
Yeah, so I had a buddy of mine that was doing videos, and he was just really having a hard time selling video. He's a really good content creator, just couldn't sell them. So he said, look, man, you sell it, I'll make it, we'll make a bunch of money together. Well, the problem with that model is if people don't know what to do with the video, you can't sell them another video. Because if they don't know how to get traffic or, any of that kind of stuff, basically the video goes on their website and on their YouTube, and neither one of those get traffic. So they don't see the value in the video.
Right.
So I started jumping into YouTube originally, trying to figure out how to rank the videos so that I could get more traffic on them so they would buy another video. And I actually got really good at it. Like I started really figuring that whole thing out. And then I was like, well, man, if I could rank it there, I could probably rank it in Google. So I started doing, websites and started really trying to figure out, how to, score and rank websites. And next thing you know, I was like, Facebook, man, I bet you I could get a lot of views on this stuff. And then, what if we did them in segments? And what if we had, multiple videos that were short that we could then run to a longer video and keep them on the site longer. And the longer you keep them on the site, the higher the ranking would go. And I started going down this path. Well, the crazy thing is, and I know this sounds really, really bad, but up until 2015, Facebook was not a part of my world. I missed the entire MySpace age.
So many really poorly designed websites that you've missed out on.
It was the one. MySpace was the first one, which I didn't even understand until later on.
So you were never friends with Tom?
I was never friends with Tom, bro. Never. MySpace is so big, I know who Tom is, and I never had a MySpace account. Just think about that. So, and the reason being was because during the time when those were coming up, I started deploying in 2003. I was never allowed to have MySpace or Facebook or any of that kind of stuff. I was never allowed to have any of that because of the military. Right. And then, from then, I have basically 10 years of my time during a 13-year stretch was spent overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, Horn of Africa. So like I would come back, but I never, never got a Facebook account. Never, like, it was just not a big part of my world. And what's funny about that is there's lots and lots of people that are like, dude, how can you be doing what you're doing now 5 years after getting a Facebook account for the first time? And
it's a great question.
Yeah. And it's kind of a strange path that I took, but the path that I took was one that if you wanted to do what I wanted to do, it's really the only path that you could possibly take. So it was pretty simple. I kind of already knew the SEO area, and I already had some people that I was, using as client, they were my clients for SEO. And I was like, oh, by the way, I could start running your Google paid ads and Google Shopping, and Google Shopping wasn't even out yet. So I knew I had to get to Facebook, but I wanted to get past just the boosted posts because that was like, it seemed pretty easy. And you'll find this funny, but I got on a plane and flew to Facebook, and I was like, knock, knock on the security gate. And they were like, dude, you're not coming in here. and so I said, well, who do you have that hires veterans? And that was it. They let me in, and he's like, I don't really have anything for you, but and he was an Army guy. So, anytime
nice.
Two veterans get together, like you can at least have a conversation. Like that's going to get it started. And so, I was there for, 5-6 hours. I mean, I flew across the country and then, on the way out the door, they were like, hey, is there anything else we can help you with? I had a blast while I was there, by the way. And I was like, yeah, who do you know at
nice.
Google?
When was that? That was 15?
Yeah, 15.
So did they have the new building with the park on top at that point?
No.
I don't think they did. Yeah. No. That's a cool place.
But basically the thing that I told them was, I'm the best marketer that you've never heard of. I just need you to teach me everything you know about marketing. Like that was my whole deal. And that's really what happened. I mean, because of that want to be the best, and I didn't want to go like, if you right now to this day, if you Google how to Facebook ad, how to Google ad, how to YouTube ad, if you do any of that, you're going to get 3,000 pages of different information. You just can't get it from, in a sequential, this is how you start. This is where you're trying to go. And, these are all the steps together. You just can't find it. And I knew that I had to get practitioners to teach me and not a course. I wasn't going to learn from a course. So what I really wanted to do, because I wanted to be the best, I just started finding people like you and Ryan and Perry. And, I just started finding the guys at the top, and I would do anything I needed to do to, get in the same room with them. So that was like buying masterminds, buying island trips, buying destination location mastermind trips. Like right. I would do whatever it took to get in the room, because I knew if I could get in the room, I would not put my foot in my mouth long enough to get another conversation.
And you and I share that philosophy. It's, I think if you have the wherewithal to do it, there's no faster way to connect with anybody you want to connect than find the paid channel of access that they've created, which in our world is frequently a mastermind. What if you didn't have that money and you weren't a veteran? So the Army guy at Facebook says, you ain't coming in. What would you tell somebody to do?
I'd find a way. I don't care if I had to go down and start mowing every grass for, across. I would mow every yard of grass all the way across the country to get to Facebook. I'd figure out a way. I think it's all mindset. If you put your mind to doing it, you'll figure out a way. And I wanted it so badly. To this day, I still want it so badly. I want to be the best marketer on the planet. I want to be the guy that can walk into any business and make that thing go.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that I have to be a technician on every new piece of software that comes out, on every, I'm not running every single ad, but strategically, I am placing myself in the right spot with the right people to do big stuff, whether that be on the Facebook side and they allow us to do a a beta version of something, or that be on the mastermind side or the, my internal network of friends like you. And I mean, the list goes on and on of people that just the two of us know that we could access to, I don't know, we could build another podcast tomorrow. You and I could start another one and have boatloads of people lined up to do that. But you don't get there, you can't luck into everything. Most of the time you pay to open doors.
Right.
Don't say something stupid when you're in the room with them. Get them to know, like, and trust you just like you would any other customer journey. Right. And then hopefully you find some common ground where you can meet in the middle where it's both beneficial. It's beneficial to both of you. And I think that's the part that a lot of people miss is they want to go in and ask, day one, hey, Roland, will you help me do this? Hey, Patch, will you help me do this? Hey, will you have $150,000? You're going to love this program that I have. Right. 150 grand, I could go build something 30 times faster and launch it way faster than you could ever even think about going to market.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But if I come to you and I say, hey, Roland, I've got this really cool thing going on, and it's going to benefit you in this way, and this way, and this way, and this way, and this way. I just need to put your name on it. Will you do it? I'll give you 50%. Well, that's a different conversation that we're having.
Yeah,
and I agree. Think people forget that.
So you were at Facebook, and then you kind of surrounded yourself with the people. Would you tell us a little bit about, and you were building pages and things like that. When did you kind of find the thing that you thought you wanted to do, and what was it, and what is that story?
I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
Like, I know, but everybody else doesn't know that. So you got to share that.
No, I mean, I'm still trying to find my path. Like, I'm not, I wouldn't say that I have it all figured out yet. As a matter of fact, every single day I'm trying to surround myself with smarter people than me. So every single day I'm learning something new.
Right.
A lot of people won't know this, but I'm a client of yours. Yep. And in some cases you're a client of mine. I've paid for your courses, but we've also launched stuff together. We have both paid to be in other masterminds together. So there's money flying back and forth a bunch of different ways, but it's healthy for both of us to have that if our relationship is going to be, peer to peer, if that's the kind of thing that we're both shooting for. Yeah. That also means that I have to be learning from you and the things that you're smarter than me. And you have to be learning from me and the things that I'm smarter about than you. And that's the relationship that really grows and does really crazy cool stuff.
I kind of like that as a topic to explore a little bit is how do you move from new intro into peer? Because that's something that I think a lot of people have a real hard time with. And I know you have experienced also that there are people who think they've made that jump before they have. Yeah. And overstep, and then it can really damage the relationship. And then they didn't really mean to do that. Yeah. They just didn't know. So what is your take on that?
I can literally use our situation. It's perfect. So I'd been following you for years. I knew you from TNC. I mean, I didn't know you, but I knew who you were. You didn't know who I was. Then we have the same mastermind together. We go to that. You're in the same room. I'm in the same room. We get introduced mutually again. I say things like, oh, yeah, man, I saw you at TNC. And you don't care because you don't know who I am. And that's okay. But then, we get to sit down at the same table and have lunch together. Now we're in a conversation. And then I seem to remember there was a time where I think everybody was on a break and you happened to be on the phone, finished up a phone call, and then you were there by yourself, and I came up and I talked, and I think that I don't even remember what that conversation was about, but it was just a conversation. Then, skip 3 or 4 months, we didn't see.
So let's go back to that for a second, because I think this is important. So I spoke at that event, you spoke at that event, and after you speak, a bunch of people will always come up. Yep. And it's nice to talk with them, but you can't have a meaningful conversation. And correct. So I think the first thing is you want to present yourself as a peer, not as I don't want to say fan or follower, but maybe not as somebody who's looking to get something for nothing.
Not a
or something.
Out. You're looking to be helpful to
me.
them, not asking for a handout.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. So like when you go and you hear somebody speak, I happen to like people, and I know you do too. I know a lot of my friends who speak like people, but don't like people they don't know. It's like they don't want to, they don't like strangers. So the very first thing I think is figure out what's the personality of that person, and find out from other people, if they really like hanging out and talking or they don't. And if they don't, then definitely don't go up there, because that's the worst time, because you're trying as a speaker, you've got 8 or 10 or 20 or however many people around you. You're trying to give them all a little bit of help, which ought to only be clarification. It could be a quick 2-second introduction, and then, hey, I liked it when you talked about that. Can you help? Did you mean this, or what did you mean by that? And then 30-second to 1 minute tops conversation has to happen there, because you've got too many people as a speaker to take care of. So for everybody that's listening, I'd say that's step one, is don't rush up after to quote unquote pick the brain of the person that just spoke, because that's not the place for that. Then and again, analogizing to the situation that we had, I think is great. We met at a peer event. Yep. Not, wasn't one person is positioned higher than the other. So that's good. So you come together as peers. The next thing is that neither of us was trying to get something from the other person there. It was, let's just have a conversation. What do you do? This is what I do. Oh, cool. What are you doing? Oh, that's great. And both of us are always like, is there anything I can do to help you? And you're like, man, kind of good for right now. Yeah. And then that's it. And then you are now connected. So if you have a purpose for reconnecting, then you can do that. But it doesn't make sense to try to force it so quickly. I think that's something that a lot of people make a mistake with, especially the "can I pick your brain" people, right? It's just not, it's not the time for that when you first meet. And you and I both, we sell our expertise, and we use our expertise to get into deals. So it's pretty valuable, and therefore we don't just give it away. And that's something I've really had to work on, and anybody that's listening should think about too, is you don't want to just give away your time for nothing. You want to help people. But if it gets past something that you can do, hey, if you want to be introduced to so-and-so and I can do it on my phone and I know you enough to make a connection, I'll do that. Or if you have a quick question, I'll answer that. But if it's, hey, I'm trying to, fix this thing about my business, and, so I'd like to let you take a look at my ad account and then maybe tell me, what, that's what we do. Right. And so I think that's the first thing, right?
I can tell you follow me on social, because that's exactly what my post was 2 days ago. I'm getting tired of people getting past all the zombie aspect of let me pick your brain. Yeah. Getting past that part, there is a point where you're asking me to do free work. So just for the context of the audience, I told you that I had something that I wanted to run by you. You said 18 grand. I said, Roger that. It's in the mail. Yeah. I told you I needed an hour. You said, look, it usually takes 4. I said, I'll take 1. I paid whatever that 1 hour cost me. It could have been $100,000. I don't care.
18 was the down payment. And so the other 88, you just send me that off. No. Yeah. And that's a good point. And I've had to learn this, and this is, for time management for everybody that's listening or watching as well. Your time is the most precious thing you have. And it's very easy to give it away, especially when you want to help people, which you do, Patch, and I do. And, a lot of the people that I know, they're very generous in that, we all want other people to succeed, but because time is limited, you have to guard it. And you also use your consulting or your fee. To me, it's like, it's not going to change my life to have a consulting fee, but it's going to screen out a lot of people who have not got the commitment or resourcefulness or dedication or belief to invest in themselves enough to do it. Right.
So listen, I've done this several times. So my daily fee, if I fly somewhere and I go to your business for a day, it's 50 grand. And most people are like, man, how do you ever sell that? Because the people that buy that, they know, and I know when I come in there, I'm going to do crazy move the needle type stuff, and they're going to listen. But if I showed up and I was like, don't worry about it, I'll come down, we'll figure it out, just pay for my hotel or something like that, you can yap for 8 hours straight and nobody's going to move.
Yeah.
There will be no needle moving. But when you put 50 grand on the line, they will move one step after the next, after the next, after the next. And what happens is charging 50 grand for the day actually makes me look like a legend because they just do the steps that I tell them to do and they get an outcome. And they're like, man, we've moved faster in the last 30 days than we have in the last 3 years. It's because you were actually moving.
You had skin in the game, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. And then after that, it's okay. You've got a relationship. You know the other person is serious. You've taken the time to get to know each other, and then it kind of evolves from there. So I think that's a kind of an interesting evolution of how to get from not knowing anybody to knowing everybody. Is that you take paid channels of access. And you provide value, as you did. You were like, yeah, we can do this and we can do that. I don't care. And it's really funny. The people I think that are the most successful are care the least about, like, they're not fighting over a couple $1,000. It's just, yeah, man, whatever you want to do. It's like, well, how much should we spend? I don't care. What do you think? That is how I find everybody that I know who is successful is, who I like is like that. Because if you're trying to split up money that you don't even know if it exists yet, I think that's just a kind of a fool's errand. That's really cool. I like talking about that. Any other thoughts on networking or getting close to the people that you want to get close to, so you're surrounding yourself with the smartest people in the room?
Yeah, usually I just try to be as helpful to them as possible. Because most of the time, everybody's asking them for something of their time. Like, everybody thinks that their project is the smartest and the greatest and helps the most people and most profitable. And you're literally in the same boat with everybody else that talked to them. But I watched this happen. I'm actually going to mention his name just because I know you like him. I like him. We're good buddies with him. So Naveen Jain, I was watching him at a VIP private event that somehow got leaked. Like, it was at somebody's house and it got leaked, the location, and like random people started showing up and they let them in just because, like, there wasn't security there. It wasn't that kind of thing, and they didn't want to cause a scene. So they just kind of let, like, I don't know, a dozen extra people or so come into this thing. And he's speaking there, and anybody that knows Naveen, like, this dude wants to change the world. He wants to end all disease, mine on the moon. Like, he wants to do big stuff. And I'm watching Naveen talking about, changing the world and really like thinking bigger and a lot of the systems that we have need to be not just overhauled, but like a new system needs to be born and grown. And he's given like this massive, powerful speech that could have been a TED talk that, it could have been just amazing. And the semi-host was like, thank you so much. I mean, that was amazing. He started getting claps, and this dude, jumps up and he's like basically raising his hand like little Johnny in the back of the classroom, and she gave him the floor. And this guy proceeded to pitch Naveen on his, little app that he had. And you literally could look around the room and feel people cringing as this guy is, doing a terrible pitch. Naveen, in all of his, like, just who he is, he basically said something like, I'm sorry that I didn't deliver a, better message to you tonight, but if you give me a minute to finish this conversation, I'll meet you, afterwards. And it was kind of like a really classy dig at the same time, taking away, and giving it back to the rest of the room. But that's the way I just want you to think about, if you're going to talk to the number one guy that you want to talk about, like you want to meet, or you want to, whoever that person is that you really feel you need to get in contact with, the best way to do it is, one, you can buy your access, but don't buy it in a way where he has to be the top level. Like, for example, if you're gonna buy a workshop where he has to remain at the high level and you have to remain the subordinate based off the relationship of that workshop, that's not going to work. Find another group that he's in where you can be at that peer-to-peer level. And then 2, is be helpful to them in a way that nobody else is being responsible enough to see. So I'll give you an example that's going to completely spoil something for you, but it's okay. So you did something nice for me. And so I went around to mutual friends that we have, and I was like, hey, what is something that would really knock Roland's socks off as just a gift? Well, that is a really good way to get somebody's attention, and also be doing it in a way that they know it's thoughtful. It's not just sucking up to them. That's not.
Sure. And I've always wanted a Boeing business jet, and I will, the first trip on it, when you deliver that to me, I am coming to see you to thank you personally. So thank you.
It's on the way. But yeah, so be helpful in ways that they don't necessarily see coming, or just be helpful in a way like I've seen people do this with me. I absolutely love it. Some people don't like it, but I've had people say, hey, look, I really want to spend some time with you. I don't have the money to spend time with you, but I really want to see how you do what you do. Can I intern with you for a month? You can give me, if you give me 1 hour, for me to ask questions, I'll do anything you want me to do for 30 hours a week.
Right.
And, that's a winner in my book all day long.
Yeah.
As long as you're not going to waste my time. Right.
So let's hop to the second thing I'd love to chat about, if you're open to it. And I know that it's totally cool if you're not. But the business model that you have is a bit unique because you've got a really cool skill set, and it allows you to get into a lot of different deals. Would you mind kind of breaking that down for everybody, hearing how that works?
So a 30,000 foot view, it's fairly simple. I learned everything that I needed to do to speak intelligently to whoever I hired or brought onto my team to do whatever task or chore that I needed them to do, whether that be, SEO, website design, Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, whatever I needed them to do. I just got smart enough on it to where they couldn't snow me if they were goofing off, right? Mm-hmm. That was it. And then from there, I was able to build a really successful marketing agency. And I realized, I kind of went through we started out, we were at the $1,500 client, and then we went to the $3,500 client, and then we went to the $15,000 a month client. Then we went to the $100,000 a month client. And we just kept going up. But what I realized was I'm never going to have a happy client like that. There's only a certain amount of time that you can be a rock star before they're like, you really should have gotten me a 14-to-1 return on ad spend on that program. I don't know why you didn't do it. They start getting unrealistic. There's a hockey stick of growth, but at some point, unless you drastically change things, there is going to become a plateau. It doesn't matter if you're talking about digital marketer or traffic and conversion or any business that I've ever had, or Boeing or FedEx. It doesn't matter who it is. Unless you do something drastically different, you're going to eventually find a plateau. Well, that led me to, why am I doing that? Because now if they decide they don't want to keep growing, or they don't want to do something drastically different, or worse, this is the worst. Let's say I make them $10 million and they decide to sell the business and I don't go with it. My services don't go with it. So the natural next progressive step was acquire equity in it so that I get to go with the sale too, or I get to exit and have dollars like everybody else. And so, slowly we started building our own stuff. And of course, we already have our internal marketing. I was doing not drop ship from China, but drop ship of, we would find local businesses that weren't doing well, and we would feed them a lead sheet, and you just mail it wherever we tell you to mail it. And that was an easy, win for us. It's we just kind of bolted on this online business that they had really no concern on having and didn't really care how it worked. And that was easy. And then, the next progressive step of that is, okay, well, there's $1 million business, or there's a $3 million business out there that is okay at marketing, but they're not great. And it's probably because they're, they got some $1,500 a month dude that's, running ads, but doesn't really know how to sequence ads or, all the fancy stuff that we can do on the back end. They're not building communities and cross-platform and all that kind of stuff. So it was easy for me to go in and say, hey, look, I'll save you that, and I won't charge you anything for 90 days. If we hit 20% increase in growth over the next 90 days, you give me 25% of the company, and you can use this service forever and ever and ever. And they were like, man, that sounds great, because they have no risk. I'm footing the bill for 90 days, and, it's super easy. And then there is a progressive step. Like, at some point, depending on how big the business is, there's some businesses that you're never going to get in zero money down. Like, they're too big for that to happen. Mm-hmm. It's like you could bring, a fleet of 100 people with you and it wouldn't matter. You're not getting into Nike for zero down, or Apple, or, there's.
Well, interestingly enough, you might, because most of those companies have access to what they call S8 stock, which is registration.
Which is different.
Yeah. So you won't own a percentage you will own a percentage. It will be 0.0000 whatever, because they're worth so much money. But it is actually kind of a cool way that a lot of people don't know about. It's some of my favorite deals that I've done is to get stock in a public company that you can sell tomorrow that costs them nothing. So they're willing to give you more of it because it's not a cash transaction for them. It doesn't adversely impact their income statement. It's a balance, sheet transaction. So it is kind of fun to be able to do those deals too. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, you're not going to go to Nike and say, so for 25%, run your Facebook ads.
Right. That is the gist of what I was able to do. And a lot of people have said this, even within the Epic group. A lot of people have said, well, yeah, but you own an agency, so you're different than me. I built it. I built it to do this.
And importantly, you're not the guy running the Facebook ads. I mean, you know how to do it, but that's not what you do. You run your business, right? You run your businesses, not just so you've hired people to do those things. And so now you've leveraged that as well, right? Other than
a morning meeting, Mobius is the only business that I touch every day. And typically that is a morning meeting up with my team, just, figuring out what's going on today and just literally saying hi, because we're all good friends. But I do very little in each one of my companies. I have 29 of them. And there's some businesses that I have that I don't touch for, months. I mean, it's working. When I talk to the CFO, I know the dollars are still flowing through it, but I'm not actually touching it. You can't scale like that. It's too much.
That's awesome. I love that. Before we head out, and I want you to let people know how to get a hold of you and follow up if they have questions and would like to avail themselves of all the cool things you do. What are your top 3 books, resources, things you read, blogs, newsletters, whatever, for finding out new breakthrough kinds of things?
To be honest with you, I don't do any of those things. This is not a plug, but I do listen to Business Lunch.
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic. I hear the guests are insanely great.
Dude, and every once in a while he really gets rock star on there. But no, I try really hard not to take up my time with content that is just, for the sake of generating, taking up time or any of that kind of stuff. I don't do that. I would rather grab a guy like you or somebody else that I know and have a very specific conversation about a very specific project that I'm working on and gain information that way. I don't need busy time type stuff.
So let me ask this. Can you think of somewhere between 1 and 3 significant mindset shifts that you've had that you would say have been really impactful in your success?
Yeah, this sounds really cliche because, it's asked so many times, but I think I can win everything. Now, when I break that down, I know that I can't win every single minute of every single day. I've written extensively about this. You're not going to win every battle. And all of my businesses are built on what I learned in the military. And so I'm not even trying to win every battle. I'm just trying to win every war that I have. And that war can be hour to hour. It can be day to day. It can be month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year. Doesn't matter. I just want to win. And winning doesn't necessarily mean more money. It doesn't necessarily mean more impact. It doesn't necessarily mean more people in my network. It can be as simple as just being better tomorrow at something than I am today by a fraction of a percent. So I think mindset to me is one of the easiest ones, because I will do whatever it takes to win as long as it's legal and it's ethical and both parties are winning and there's some kind of impact beyond financial gain after that. Like, I just want to win. And how do I help as many people win as possible? And then the second thing is, I'm like the Energizer Bunny, but I'm not like it. Like, I run sprints. Like, I will sprint for, and depending on what I'm trying to do, I'll sprint for 3 days sometime and won't sleep but 4 hours in 3 days. And I'm totally cool doing it. I mean, I had no problem doing it when I was overseas, and I couldn't sleep for longer than 4 hours because there's bad guys around, right? So I didn't have a choice then. I can at least do it for my business. And I think the number one mindset that I have that puts me above a lot of other people that are trying to do similar things to what I'm doing is that I believe that businesses are lives. And you have the responsibility of the livelihoods of the people that are on your team. Sometimes people call them employees. I only do that on tax records because that's what they make me say. But I have a team and I'm responsible for their livelihoods through a paycheck. And I believe that, I would do anything in the military to make sure that this dude's life is taken care of. Why wouldn't I do the same with people's livelihoods? So if I treat a business like it's a living, breathing thing, like it's something that you have to keep alive and you have to keep nurturing it and growing it and teaching it new tricks. If you treat every business like that and not like bottom line on spreadsheet is so small brained. Like that's like tiny brain stuff. Yeah. But if you treat your business like a living thing and you truly try to help it grow to be the best adult that it could possibly be, and you'd be surprised what you can pull off for that. The same way you would for a kid,
I agree. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to hang out and share with us today. What are the best ways that people could get a hold of you to find out more about Patch?
Yeah, patchbaker.com. You can find me on social. You can find me. Patchbaker.com takes you everywhere. So just go there.
Awesome. Thanks again. Really appreciate you coming in and hanging out.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
You've been listening to Business Lunch with Roland Frasier. If you're enjoying the show, let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. And for more information, go to businesslunchpodcast.com. Thank you for listening.